If the words personal brand make you want to disappear into a pile of cozy blankets, same. As an introvert, being told to just show up more or post daily can feel less like good advice and more like a guaranteed path to burnout. But what if marketing didn't have to feel like a performance? What if it could feel calm, clear, like something you actually want to do because it fits who you are, not who the algorithm wants you to be? That's what we're talking about today. How to market yourself as an introvert without the cringe, without the burnout, and without pretending to be louder than you are. Because quiet people can build powerful businesses too. We don't have to scream to be heard. Welcome back to Boldly Introverted, the online business podcast. If you've ever felt weird or uncomfortable marketing yourself, you are not alone. That phrase alone can feel, well, sort of cringy, performative. Like you're supposed to suddenly become a loud, polished, always on version of yourself just to be taken seriously. And if you're an introvert, especially one who values depth, clarity, and genuine connection, that pressure can feel not only exhausting, but also kind of hollow. Like, is this really what it takes to be seen or to grow? But here's what I want to say right from the beginning. No, it's not. You don't have to turn into someone else to share what you do. You don't need to fake charisma, master the algorithm, or post a million times a week. You can grow your business, build visibility, and connect with the right people in a way that actually honors your energy, in a way that feels like you. So today's episode is all about shifting how we think about self-promotion and marketing in general. Less about look at me and more about how can I help? Because that's what good marketing really is. It's service, not spectacle. If you've been quietly building something you believe in, but struggling to show up without draining yourself or feeling like a fraud, this episode is for you. We're going to walk through some simple, non-cringy strategies to help you market yourself in a calm, consistent, authentic way. So let's talk about how to be seen without selling your soul in the process. When marketing feels overwhelming, most of the time it's not because you're bad at it, it's because the version you've been shown wasn't made with you in mind. It was made for people who thrive on performance, who love being in front of a camera every day, or who don't mind turning their whole life into content. But that's not most introverts. And it's definitely not the only way to be visible. What actually works for quieter business owners, what feels sustainable, is marketing that fits your energy, not fights it. And that's where everything shifts. We're going to talk about how to reframe what marketing yourself even means. Because honestly, a lot of us are carrying around this idea that it's just self-promotion on steroids. But it's not. Then we're going to get into some low-pressure ways to show up consistently without being glued to your phone. We're also going to talk about building real connections because one genuine relationship can move the needle way more than 10,000 views. And finally, we're going to touch on how to show up without putting on a persona. No shiny personal brand mask, just the actual you talking like a human. So that's what we're diving into. Honest, simple ways to market yourself without burning out or pretending to be someone louder. So here's what I want you to hear. Marketing isn't about spotlighting you. It's about offering something useful to someone else. That's it. No, hey, look at me. It's, hey, here's something that might help. That little reframe changes everything because most introverts aren't afraid of being helpful. We're often already great at listening, solving problems, noticing what people need. The part that gets uncomfortable is when we feel like we have to suddenly become our own hype squad just to be taken seriously. But marketing doesn't have to be self-promotion in the traditional sense. It can be value sharing, it can be thoughtful, quiet, grounded. You're not the product, you're the guide. And that's actually way more magnetic than you might think. Think about a time when someone helped you in a really low-pressure way. Maybe they explained something clearly or shared a simple resource or even just listened well. That kind of experience builds trust, and trust is the heart of good marketing. So if you've been resisting visibility because it feels like you have to perform, maybe you don't. Maybe it's not about showing up louder. Maybe it's about showing up clearer, more calmly, more like you. People are drawn to confidence that doesn't try too hard. You don't need to force energy or invent a brand voice. Just speak from a place of usefulness. That's the kind of presence that builds real traction because it's rooted in who you actually are. We're going to build on this next because once you take the pressure off, the question becomes, how do I show up in a way that works with my energy and not against it? So, if you've ever felt completely drained trying to keep up with Instagram Reels or TikTok trends, you're not doing anything wrong. You're just not playing in a space that was built for your brain. A lot of introverts do better on platforms that let your content breathe. Things like blogs and Pinterest and YouTube, places where your work has a longer shelf life. The truth is, you don't have to be everywhere. And you definitely don't have to be on all the loudest platforms to be successful. In fact, the most successful growth often comes from picking one or two places that feel natural and just letting those carry the weight. So maybe that's a faceless YouTube channel, or a blog you update once a week or once a month, or a Pinterest strategy where your pins just quietly drive traffic while you rest. These things count. And in fact, they can often work better long-term because they're not tied to fleeting trends. And the best part, you can automate so much of it. Batch your content when you're feeling clear. Use tools like Later or FEA Create to schedule posts while you log off. It's not cheating, it's just smart. When you stop trying to be visible every day and instead focus on creating useful things that last, the whole process gets quieter and more effective. When you focus on platforms that work with your energy instead of against it, marketing stops feeling like a full-time job. You can create once, step back, and let it do its thing. Because even if you're marketing quietly, connection still matters. So let's talk about that, because connection is often overlooked in the marketing world. Not networking, not lead generation, just real connection, one person to another. If you're introverted, the thought of showing up in big group spaces or jumping into fast-paced comment threads might feel totally draining, and that's fine. You don't need 100 surface-level interactions. You just need a few real ones that actually matter. In fact, introverts often shine in one-on-one conversations. We're great listeners, we notice what people need, and we're usually more comfortable connecting when there's less noise. So why not lean into that? Start with something simple. Reach out to one person this week, someone whose work you admire or someone you've quietly followed for a while. Send a DM or a voice note, not with a pitch, just curiosity, hey, I really liked what you shared about whatever. I've been thinking about that too. That's it. People remember how you make them feel, and a thoughtful message is often more powerful than 10 days of perfectly optimized content. You don't need to scale your relationships. You just need to nurture a handful of them. People who trust you, who refer you, who root for you even when you're not online every day. That kind of marketing doesn't spike overnight, but it does last. So if the idea of building an audience feels like too much, zoom in. Think about the people, not the numbers. Connection doesn't have to be loud to be strong. Which moves us to the next point I want to talk about, something that makes all of this easier: creating content that keeps working while you rest. You don't have to be visible every day to be effective. In fact, if you're building your business as an introvert, you shouldn't be. You need rest, you need space. And that doesn't mean your momentum has to stop, because your content can keep working even when you're offline. This is where evergreen content becomes your best friend. That blog post you wrote 3 months ago, still showing up in search. That Pinterest pin you scheduled last week, still sending people to your lead magnet. The email sequence you wrote when your brain was on fire, still nurturing subscribers while you're fully in no talk, just coffee mode. You don't need to be everywhere at once. You need systems that stretch your effort. That's the difference between always being on and building something that can run even when you're off the grid for a few days. Tools like Notion or Trello can help you plan ahead so you're not scrambling for what to say every week. Just map it out once. Then batch your content when your energy is high and schedule it out. It's giving your future self a gift. One day, you're going to be tired or sick or just completely done with it all. And instead of pushing through or ghosting your audience, your systems have you covered. This kind of slow, strategic visibility is what makes introvert-led businesses really sustainable. You can show up consistently without constantly being available. That's not lazy, it's just leadership. So we'll wrap all this up in a second, but before we do, let's talk about one last piece that ties everything together: showing up without pretending to be someone you're not. So here's the truth. Most of us aren't struggling with what to say. We're just tired of feeling like we have to say it in some weird, filtered, professional voice that doesn't sound anything like us. And that's where a lot of the burnout comes from, trying to maintain a persona instead of just being you. You don't need to fake confidence. You don't need to sound like a thought leader or a personal brand or someone who has it all figured out. You just need to sound like you. And that version of you, the one who pauses sometimes or rambles a little or stumbles through a sentence or two, that's the one people are going to trust. It's not about being polished, it's about being real. When you share your story, like your actual human story with behind the scenes stuff, the lessons you've learned, even the awkward or unfinished parts, you give people something to connect to. And connection beats curation every time. Because here's the thing, we're all craving real. And when you show up as yourself, it gives other people permission to do the same. That's the kind of energy that makes someone stick around. Not because you're perfect, but because you're honest. So if you've been holding back because you think you need to be more confident or more polished or more whatever, maybe you just need to be a little bit more you. The version of you that talks like a real human, the one that knows her stuff, but isn't really trying to impress anyone. That's the voice that cuts through, and that's the voice that people will remember. So let's pull all of this together. Marketing doesn't have to feel like pretending or performing or pushing yourself to be someone you're not. Especially if you're an introvert building a business from a deeper place, one that values intention and not noise. The truth is, you don't need more energy, you need a better rhythm. One that lets you show up in the ways that feel sustainable and honest. One that uses your strengths, your thoughtfulness, your clarity, your ability to connect one-on-one. That stuff, that's not a weakness in marketing. That is marketing. You're allowed to do it differently, to grow at your own pace, to speak in your own voice. You don't have to shout, you just have to share. And you can do it in a way that doesn't burn you out or leave you feeling like a stranger to yourself. So maybe it's one helpful post a week, or a quiet message to someone you admire, or batching content during your creative highs so you can rest later. These small, steady moves, they add up. And what they build is something that actually lasts. A brand rooted in trust, a business that fits your life, a way of marketing that doesn't drain you, but still reflects you. If this episode hit home for you, I'd love to hear what really got you. What's one introvert-friendly strategy you've tried or want to try? Come share it with me in our community or send me a DM if that feels more your speed. I always read them. And if you're building a business your own way, slowly, quietly, and intentionally, make sure you're subscribed to Boldly Introverted, the online business podcast. That way you won't miss these weekly reminders that you don't have to hustle louder to be successful. Thanks for being here. Truly, it matters to me.